Hello there. We have been talking about story formats, and if you remember, I said that we are talking about Christopher Vogler's 12 stages of hero's journey, where we talked about ordinary world, then we talked about call to adventure, then we talked about refusal, then we talked about meeting with the mentor, then we talked about crossing the threshold, then we talked about test, allies, enemies, and now, let's understand this test, allies, and enemies. So, the hero is forced out of the safety where he meets his new friend, where he meets his foes, then he knows with whom to engage, with whom not to engage, who are on his side, on which side he or she is. Then you approach the inmost cave where you are facing the hidden internal demons that only you are aware of. Then you have so the hero may be confronted with some of self doubt and terror at the doorway to the inmost cave, as he or she was when he or she first heard the call to adventure. He may need to stop and think about the journey and the perilous path, dangerous path ahead, to gather the strength to continue. This brief, preview heightens the audience anticipation of the hero's ultimate challenge by revealing the scope of his difficulty. Now, this is very important. When the hero is on this stage, which is called inmost cave, or facing the demon, you may call whatever name you like. These characters have signed, literally they have signed to enter in a danger zone. It can be dangerous in physical sense, it can be dangerous in psychological sense. So they have signed for it. Now, Odell, if the hero is to live, or if the world in which the hero lives is to continue. Now, this is really important. Ordeal is like, how would I say, how popularly this ordeal will be Agni Pariksha, like suppose, something very, very close to Agni Pariksha. If the hero is to live, or if the world in which the hero lives is to continue, he or she must overcome the supreme ordeal, which could be a perilous physical test or a profound emotional crisis. If it is an action-based film, or if it's slightly action-driven film, it will be physically perilous. Or if it is about an ordinary man who is living a normal life, then he will have perilous, emotionally perilous situation or crisis. To defeat his ultimate adversary, the hero must call upon all the knowledge and experience. Now, this is something very interesting, all the knowledge and experience that he has gained during the journey to the innermost cave. Now, suppose I was, if you remember, you must have seen a very interesting series called Farzi. Now, these two individuals are driving a van. Police is chasing them. Now, they know for sure that now there is no way out. They will be caught. There is no, even a single possibility. You are seeing that visually. You are completely involved in the scene, and you know that on that side also there are policemen, but they are chased. There is a lot of traffic jam. People are running around on they are moving on the road. No helicopter is coming to lift them like Fast and Furious, something like this, because if a helicopter comes and picks them, you need to establish this particular situation beforehand, and they need to be so resourceful individuals also. So you know that this is not going to happen. So what best, in this perilous physically or action-wise tense situation you can do. So the hero must call upon all the knowledge, and experience that he has gained during the journey. be that positive journey or be that negative journey. I mean, in fact, negative character attracts more, because that is not the side that you have explored. So that is slightly unknown territory where you have not ventured. So that becomes, so that is one of the reasons that you like negative character more, because otherwise in real life you do not want to get close to negative characters, because they can harm you. So you only want to experience their way of life, thinking, procedure with which they work. So that attracts more in that case. So he says that throw the money out. Now when he starts throwing the money out from the back door of the van, so that can happen only when that sort of a character runs all the options, exhaust all the options, and find out this brilliant situation that if you throw money, it will fall on road, people will come and collect, and this is how the police van that is chasing can never go through this crowd. So when there is a kind of a situation, tense situation, where your character, by story, by all the restrictions written by the screenplay writer, or you can think of, because by this time you and I also get involved in the story, and when something like this happens, street smart thing happens, you love your character. So that's why it's called ordeal, Agni Pariksha, because there is no way out from this, but your character muster the courage, call upon of all the knowledge and experience, and get out of the situation. This is how you make your character likable. Okay, ye kuch bhi kar sakta hai. That makes a individual a hero. This ordeal makes individual a hero. How smartly. So only via death. Now this is very interesting. So only via death is the hero reborn. So when you screw him like anything, when you put him in a tight spot, and and even the audience knows that there is no way out of this, now your character is going to be finished. He is going to be caught, he is going to be killed, he is going to be captured, he is going to be abducted, he is going to be belittled. When you are able to give this expectation to audience, and now on this point onwards your character cannot move forward. If he does, it's the end of this character. But when you give end to this character, when he reborns out of it, gaining the greater strength and wisdom he needs to complete his quest and reach his ultimate destination. In this crucial moment, the hero risks losing everything he cares about. He will die or be permanently changed if he does not succeed. Now here is a very interesting point. It may be the mentor's story. Now I'm talking about a ordeal where you have given everything not working for your protagonist, but even then he is smart enough to get out of the situation, and that makes him a hero. Please understand that. But if he had not, or if he cannot, and if he can't, then he is not a hero. And trust me when I'm saying it, you watch all the films where there are mentors, they could not get out of one situation, which was basically the ordeal situation. And there is where they lose everything. That's why they come with their experience, they become mentor. They are mentor, not heroes. Hero, when given the same situation, mentor flunked, hero will not. Now that's the difference between a hero and his mentor, between a hero and her mentor. Now this is a very fine, very, जैसे हिंदी में कहते हैं बड़ा बारीक सा difference है ये. But if you understand this, you have a beautiful subplot. You have a more engaging mentor's story. You have, it is not that he could not, so it does not mean the the protagonist of the story will respect him less. No, that's not the case. Please understand, that's a human nature. There are certain limitations, there are certain foundations, there are certain things that is not accepted in a specific time or frame. So it does not mean, look, if I have given you an example, it does not mean that you will belittle your mentor. No, mentor is like, he's the mentor of the protagonist. He is wiser, he has got more experience, he has a different perspective on looking at things. So we are not here to belittle the mentor, but you understand that there was a decisive moment. If you remember, when in photography, Cartier-Bresson, he talks about the decisive moment. So there was a decisive moment when mentor could not perform. So that's the only difference that I am talking about. So he will die or be permanently changed if it does not succeed. So when he does not succeed, so there is where I have written it. It may be the mentor's story. Now let's talk about reward. The hero undergoes a metamorphosis. Now this is really important in terms of, if you could give me any situation, then I can tell you how organically your character can have metamorphosis, emerging from the conflict stronger and more capable than before, having vanquished the villain, cheated death, and triumphed over the great personal obstacle. The reward can be anything from a powerful or rare item to new information, improved understanding, or even the chance to make amends with a friend or family members. Regardless of the value of the achievement or the wisdom, the hero must hasten his preparation for the final stage of his quest, if he or she ever hopes to return to the ordinary world. Now this is, like, how can I make you understand that there is always an urgency in protagonist to get back to the ordinary world. I can give you an example for this. I am from UP, and there is a beautiful, it is not limited only to UP, it's throughout the country. Jungle mein mor nacha kisne dekha? You are powerful, you are rich, you are resourceful, you live in a wonderful house, but if your people do not know it, if they cannot experience it, you are non-existent for them. So when it rains, a peacock dances in the rain in forest. Fine, they do. What's so great about it? But when you see that physically, when you see that happening, when you see the physical demonstration of that dance, it makes you feel so good. So when you see it, it makes the difference. When you do not, let it happen. It doesn't bother you. So there is a urgency to return to the ordinary world. And if you remember when I said that this is what makes a hero a hero. Now, so the road back, in a when you talk about the road back, in a reversal of the call to adventure, first threshold crossing, the hero must now cross the second one. Now that he has his reward, he must return home, that I was just talking about. But instead of fearing harm on the way, he can look forward to praise and maybe even vindication, absolution, or exonerate. A lot of these things can happen. However, the hero may require one final push before returning to the mundane world. I have written mundane, but it's the ordinary world. The hero may have to choose between his own goal and the goal of a higher cause right before, commuting to his trip. Now, one of the last stages is resurrection. The hero's final and most perilous showdown with death occurs at this juncture. Because of its symbolic significance, the final battle often has far-reaching ramifications for the hero's everyday world and the lives of those he leaves behind. In a movie, the audience can identify with the hero because they can care the outcome of the struggle and share his or her hopes, worries, anxiety because of the consequences of failure. Now, this is really important because of the consequences of failure. You know, that charm to go and see on silver screen, that is not there when you see film in your mobile phone. So when you are surrounded by bigger than what you have, not only visually but acoustically also, it basically transports you in that world where you are literally more associated with the character, where his joy becomes your joy, where his victory becomes your victory, where his failure becomes your failure, where his fight becomes your fight, where when he cries you cry, when he laughs you laugh, because there is a connection. In the same way, all these hopes, worries, anxiety, and the consequences of failure, you are able to relate because you are transported in that basically in a virtual world. Technically, before VR, this was the VR. Cinema halls were the VR. Before you have the technology of VR, the hero will win in the end, vanquishing the villains and be resurrected from the ashes of the war. Now, return with elixir or amrit. In the final scene, the hero completes his quest and return to his ordinary world, a transformed man. Now, this line is really important and I'll talk about it. He or she will be a better person for having gone through it all and be ready to start a new chapter in his or her life after overcoming great adversity and perhaps even death. Those he left behind may find reward, renewed optimism in his return. He may have the answer to their issues or a new way of looking at things. The ultimate payoff he receives could be figurative or actual. Whatever it is, a reason to rejoice, an epiphany or an end of the conflict. All these things can happen. And what does it signify? It signifies transformation, achievement, and evidence of his journey. For the other key players in the story, returning home also means the plot need to be wrapped up. Allies of the hero will be rewarded while detractors will be shunned, although the hero eventually returns to his original location. Although the hero eventually returns to his original location, but nothing will be the same. You may have the opening image of the film and the closing image of the film same. Maybe the house is same, maybe the person is same, but the state of mind is not same. Now, as I said that I will be giving you some popular examples, that whatever stages that we have talked about, are we able to see that translating or happening on the silver screen? Now let's understand. Now I'll give you some examples. From one example is from Harry Potter, then you have Star Wars, then you have Matrix, then you have Spider-Man, then you have Lion King, and then you have Lord of the Rings. Now I'll give you some, I'm sure that all of you must have seen Harry Potter. So now let's take Harry Potter and talk about it. Now, Harry Potter lives in the cupboard under the stair. Now, this is how, forget about that Dumbledore comes, Hagrid comes, Dumbledore is there, delivers the boy, they deliver it on the, doorstep of their uncle and aunt. So, forget that. The story starts, there is a helpless boy who is an orphan. He lives with his aunt and uncle, and he lives in the cupboard under the stairs. So he is like slightly, exploited. Okay. Now, Star Wars, you can, when you see, you will find this. Luke Skywalker lives on a moisture field on Tatooine. Matrix, Thomas Anderson lives in double life as a regular citizen, and as Neo, as hacker. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, is a nerdy student and who is bullied by the classmate. Then you have Lion King. Simba is the heir to the throne of Pride Land, and Lord of the Rings says that Frodo lives comfortably in the shrine and visit Bilbo. Now, this is that all the examples that I have given you are the odd examples from the ordinary world of all these characters. Now, let's see how this call for adventure starts. Now, when Harry Potter receives a letter from Hogwarts School, now he is often, how can he receive a letter from Hogwarts School? Now, this gives you some material to think about, and nobody will get, letter, often gets a letter from, and that too of 3, 4, 5 years from Oxford, so that does not happen. Then you have a Star War, Luke gets a message from Prince Leia. Matrix is that you are living in a matrix kind of a message comes. Then you have then in a Spider-Man, the spider, bites Peter, and this is how he gets the power. The Lion King, Scar kills the Musafa, and Simba leaves the jungle. Lord of the Rings, Gandalf tells Frodo that he must destroy One Ring. Now, all these things are, call for adventure. You come to Hogwarts School, or you are getting an invitation to rescue the princess, or you get a message from Matrix saying that you are not living, the right life, and then Spider-Man, call for adventure. Spider comes and bites him. Simba is like, literally thrown out of the jungle, and Lord of the Rings, you must destroy. So all these things are call for adventure. What you look, that is what I was saying, that what you see on screen, all the stages that I have talked about, all the things that you see on screen, if you start noticing them carefully, you will find all that here. Then there is a call for adventure. Now the next stage was the refusal of the call. Now the Harry Potter says, what is Hogwarts? How can I be part of it? I have been living with this uncle and aunt. How there is a message for me of something like this? So the uncle and aunt knows that he can go to Hogwarts. So, but the boy itself is doubting. Then in the same way in Star Wars, Luke is reluctant to accept Obi-Wan's offer. Matrix, Neo talks to Trinity, but isn't it sure that Trinity is actually Trinity is in reality, or Trinity is a dream? Then you have Spider-Man. Obviously there is a beautiful dialogue called that with great power comes great responsibility, but because Peter Parker has got power, so he's not saying, okay, I'm not bothered about responsibilities, let me win matches, let me win some money, let me support my aunt and uncle. So he's not bothered about the responsibility, he's not bothered about the what is expected, or what destiny has decided for him. So all these characters, be that Frodo also, or Simba also. Simba retrieves to the desert. Frodo is like reluctant to leave his life. So there is a refusal of call. Then you meet with the mentor. In Harry Potter case, Hagrid takes Harry to alley to the alley where Harry purchases his school equipments. Obi-Wan Kenobi gives Luke his father's lightsaber and offers to train Luke to be a Jedi. Matrix, if you remember that scene where red pill and blue pill is offered, then you have this famous line from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And meeting with the mentor. So now who is the mentor in Lion King? If you remember, there are two beautiful characters called Timon and Pumbaa, and they introduce him to the jungle life, and Gandalf introduces Frodo to the Fellowship of the Ring. Now this is this is all meeting with the mentors. Now let's talk about crossing the threshold. Now crossing, Harry can, okay, there is Hagrid is there. Now he has come to school, but still he is not very sure of the purpose. Crossing the threshold is all about that. So you need a valid reason to sign for the task. What is the reason? Now, when you are talking about crossing the threshold, here is where the reasons are. If they are not your reason, they are your loved one reasons. So in case of Harry, it's a very personal reason that Harry learns about the parents' death at the hands of Lord Voldemort. Whereas in Star Wars, it is Luke, accompanies Obi-Wan to Aldrin to deliver the plans for the death of the star of for the Death Star to Lea's father. Matrix, Neo chooses the red pill and wakes up from the Matrix. Now, when you have taken the red pill, previous life is gone. Now, there is no return from this threshold. Now, when you know that your parents were killed by Lord Voldemort, now, obviously, you need to be committed to the task now. Otherwise, how would you take revenge of your parents? Now, there are a lot of things like test and analyze. You can find beautiful examples of test and analyze, how Harry adjusts to the life of Hogwarts, then you approach to the innermost core when Harry, Ron and Hermione plans to get to the Philosopher's Stone. Then you have the ordeal. Harry, Ron and Hermione overcomes the obstacles set up to protect the Philosopher's Stone. Then you have the reward. Harry enters the room where the Philosopher's Stone is hidden. And then you have the road back. Harry faces Professor Quirrell, who has been hosting Voldemort in his body. And then you have the resurrection. Harry wakes up in the hospital. Dumbledore explains that Harry is protected by his mother's love. And then you have return with the elixir. Harry returns to his guardian's home for the summer and happy to belong to Hogwarts. I'm sure these examples must have cleared some of your doubts. Thank you very much.